Welcome to another season of Conversations with Gentle Warriors. This is season 5. My name is Bhavna Isar, and I'm the founder and CEO of Caregiver Saathi. In this season, we continue to shine the light on what we now call the invisible backbone of our society, family caregivers. Often, our strength as caregivers goes unseen, yet it forms the foundation of the well being for our loved ones and even communities. Through these conversations, we explore stories of courage, resilience, and quiet compassion. We'll hear about the challenges caregivers face, the systemic gaps that need attention, and the extraordinary ways in which caregiving shapes not just families, but workplaces and society. Gentle Warriors is not just about telling stories, it is about recognizing caregiving as an act of profound strength and about sparking reflection, dialogue, and change. Care is at the very core of our being. Join us as we celebrate these unseen, unheard, invisible heroes and uncover what it truly means to be a gentle warrior. Greetings of the day. My name is Bhavna Isar, and I'm the founder of Caregiver Saathi. And one of the first few things that we have done at Caregiver Saathi is to reach out to all people who have had caregiving experience, whether or not they call themselves caregivers, to tell us what their journey and their story is all about. You see, we live in a world where caregivers tend to be invisible and unrecognized and underappreciated. And of course, caregiving is a very gendered role. And on top of that, we live in a culture where caregiving is almost expected, certainly from family members, certainly from women. And we also have gold standards. We grow up with stories of Shravan Kumar and Savitri and many other stories, which make caregiving fairly gold standard and very high benchmarks to achieve. So, Conversations with Gentle Warriors is our attempt at documenting human stories of caregivers who we fondly call gentle warriors, because, well, they are healers more than warriors, but we are all caregivers and we can all learn from each other and not feel alone in our journeys. I have the pleasure of having this conversation today with Pragya. Pragya, welcome.
Thank you so much, Bhavna. It's been no less than a pleasure to be a part of this podcast and being able to call myself a gentle warrior, as you say, and to be able to present my journey as a carer. And I hope I'm able to connect through my story, I'm able to connect to a lot of invisible carers out there in the world.
For sure, for sure. We believe that every voice matters, every story is important, and for sure yours is. And we are very grateful that you're willing to share your story. And Pragya, tell us who you are, and let's start from that.
So I have an experience of child and adolescent mental health. So I've been working in this field for last 10 years, and I
Mm,
have also been working in the field of designing and developing content and curriculum on mental health, on life skills education, and I have also conducted many training programs across the country for
mm,
different functionaries, which
mm,
includes educational functionaries, which includes child protection functionaries, which also include functionaries from mental health
mhm.
fraternity. So, and I am very, very passionate about mental health and uh, more than, I think, more than calling it as a profession, I always call it as a calling So, caregiving and caring for my um, parents, for my family, and, of course, my parent with mental illness, uh, led me to take up the journey of caregiving, but also me understanding why, understanding mental health is critical, and understanding why kindness is critical, and why, passing smiles is critical, because I always believe that, smile costs nothing. It may be not expensive, but we still don't smile so much. We still don't pass on kindness, which is like the most simplest thing to do, but again, the rarest thing to find in the world.
Mm. So, tell us your association with caring for someone or caregiving. When did you first realize you're a caregiver?
So I was a child. I was hardly, I think, 8, 9 years old when I first learned that, my parent or is not keeping well, and
Mm,
I have a different journey of being a child than how I see my peers in schools, having the journey of childhood. So my childhood definitely doesn't look like their childhood. That was my first realization, and that realization also came from a space when I Mm, I don't clearly remember that very incident, but I do remember that it was some competition, and I was very excited to participate in that competition. But um, I had to drop off from that competition,
mhm,
and I had so many questions to ask. I was very upset as a child that, oh my God, I practiced so hard. I was so excited to participate. What happened? But when I went back home, I realized that my mother fainted, and then, eventually things happened, and a lot of medical intervention came in. And
mm,
since then, I stopped asking questions. I, of course, was not uh, in the, I think, if in terms of understanding the age demography, I was, of course, not matured enough to understand what is happening, and what
mm,
it means, to uh, transition from being a child to now becoming a caregiver, so that transition didn't
mm,
come easy. And of course, I was not able to also understand what it would mean or what it would look like for
mm.
the next part of my life. But that's how it eventually started.
Are you the only child, Pragya?
No, I have a younger brother.
You have a younger brother.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And I
Wow.
think that, and I'm sure you will also, relate to it, because as an elder sibling, and like how you said, that gender plays a very important role in
Mm,
caregiving or being a
mm,
carer. So,
mm,
at my home, because I had been through multiple facets of, challenges, of triggers,
mm,
of bad experiences,
mm,
as an elder sibling, as an elder sister, I didn't want my brother, my younger brother, to go through the same. So I really wanted him to, just be hidden, or, just uh, uh, be away from all the pain that will follow along in this journey, of a parent with chronic illness and chronic mental illness. So, not just chronic illness, but mental illness
mm,
is another bigger layer, which brings along a lot of um,
mm.
painful aspects
For sure.
for the entire
Uh,
family. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you comfortable sharing more information about the condition?
Yeah. So my mother has schizophrenia, and
Mm,
I was 13 when she showed first, signs and symptoms of schizophrenia. But before that, also, she had a lot of other illnesses. And then
Right.
eventually, she also developed mental illness, and it took us more than almost 4 years to then visit a psychiatrist, because mental health is a taboo in our country, and not just our country,
Of
but of course across the world. And
course.
I'm talking about the year 2008, when mental health word was not known
Mm.
by many.
Yeah. Yeah.
At
Yeah.
least today we know that, oh, mental health करके भी कोई शब्द है जो एग्जिस्ट करता है। उस समय
I
तो
know.
पता भी नहीं था। तो क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है, किस लिए हो रहा है,
Mm.
कब खत्म होगा,
Mm.
हमारे साथ ही क्यों हो रहा है, किसी और के साथ क्यों नहीं होता, हमारे ही साथ सब पूरा क्यों होता है, ऑल दीज क्वेश्चन। And I'm sure these
Yeah.
are some of the common questions that pop up in every person's mind, not just the caregiver, but in general, a person who is going through a lot of difficult circumstances. So, yeah, these were some of the questions that kept coming up. And eventually, after 4 years, we visited the psychiatrist and understood what is happening and why it is happening.
So help our audience understand what is schizophrenia.
So, it's a mental illness, which is it's a severe mental illness where the person goes through a lot of delusional thoughts. Either they live in delusions, or um, they go through hallucinations. So
Mm.
the person might be experiencing something, or might start anticipating that the person near to me, it could be a neighbor, it could be a family member, it could be anyone, it could be a stranger. um, they might think that this person is causing trouble to me, this person is not safe for me, this person wants to kill me, this person wants to cause harm to me or my family.
Mm.
um, they might always feel that they are being watched. uh, Everybody can watch them, what they're doing, and everybody knows what they're up to. So
Mm.
they go through the phases of delusions, and if it is even more severe, then they go through episodes of hallucinations. And it again varies, the frequency varies. When if there is no medical intervention, then of course it is in a much it is in a worst sort of situation.
Mm. I'm very mindful that, talking about this may be taking you back to your memories, and that's not easy. So, at any point in time you don't want to go further, please, I will need your help to say, we'll need to stop here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
sure. But thank you
yeah,
so much for creating such a gentle, safe space.
yeah, yeah. No, you know, we are influenced by the movies we see and the stories we hear, and I think conditions like schizophrenia may have been misunderstood, and sometimes considered dangerous or difficult, and for sure, not only is the patient misunderstood or mistreated, it can have all kinds of implications for the family members, the
Yeah, yeah,
children. So who was the
yeah.
primary caregiver for your mom?
I would say it was my father and I. We two were, I being the elder sibling and my father.
Mm.
I would also
Mm.
say that my younger sibling, my brother, has also played a key role.
Mm.
Of course, the role of caregiving keeps on transferring, and there will be days where the person will get upset by one person, the other person or the other family
Yeah,
member. So then
yeah,
another family member has to take that role and ensure that everything just stays in place. At least उतना बुरा ना हो, कम बुरा कितना हो सकता है उसका तो एटलीस्ट ध्यान रखा जाए। तो
yeah.
yeah, तो but yeah, having said that, my father and I, we were the main, um I would say the main caregivers. And
Mm.
there's another layer, again, going back to referring that how gender plays into this whole
Mm,
dynamics.
mm,
So
mm,
there were
mm,
days when my mother used to be very upset with my father. So then I had to take up the role and I had to become the primary, person to ensure that she stays calm and, if even if she's crying, it's okay to let her cry, but what are some of the needs that are arising in that particular situation, in that particular circumstance? So, how to ensure that I hear her and I make sure that she understands that, okay, she's someone who is listening to me, she's someone who cares for me, she's
mm,
someone who is not judging me right now, and she's understanding me. So, even if there were times when my mother used to tell that, oh, all these people around us, they are watching us, and I don't want my children to, get affected by it, and I don't want you all to, uh, uh, get in a situation where you are unsafe. So I want to make sure that you are safe all the time. So she used to do certain things at home,
mm,
so that which were quite, I would say, embarrassing that time, which we definitely didn't like, didn't appreciate. That why is she, just randomly shouting at people, or why is she um, going through such, hard phases of anger outbursts. So why can't she be just quiet like everybody else, right? Or she used to do certain things which felt very uncomfortable to us, and because again, because we didn't know what is going on, right, with her, we didn't understand what mental health is. We didn't visit the psychiatrist till then, so it was difficult for us to understand what is happening. And so sometimes we just used to listen to her stories that, oh, और ये सब लोग परेशान कर रहे हैं, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, कोई मुझे नहीं समझ रहा है. और तो I just used to say, okay, nahi, nahi, I understand. Yeah, you're very true. Yeah, very true. Even I felt so yesterday that, yeah, that auntie, she's doing it on purpose. So I also started making all these stories. I used to join some statements of um, some statements that she wanted to hear, that, oh, okay, that means I am not the only one who is, feeling like that. I thought everybody is thinking that, I'm pagal, I have gone mad. But no, if this person is understanding, that means something terrible is really happening, right? So
mm,
when I used to say these statements, she used to get a lot of comfort, and then she used to calm down. uh, so that those were some of the strategies nobody tells us, as caregivers, like what you are supposed to do in these situations. We learn by
mm.
failing, or we learn by experimenting, or we learn by doing.
The psychiatrist did not tell you what to do with her.
The psychiatrist came in much like later
Mm,
time. Like I said, there was a lot of taboo that time around mental health.
mm,
So it was
mm,
almost 4 years. It took
mm,
us 4 years to reach and consult a psychiatrist. I too didn't even know that time that, oh, there's this whole fraternity of mental health. There are these mental health professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, counselors. I had no idea back then. And then
of
after
course.
4 years, one of my father's very close friend,
Mm,
he came, he intervened, and he told my father that next day, because again, something very terrible happened that time, and the my mother took an extreme, action, which again caused a lot of trouble and all of that. So then he intervened and he said, okay, let me take you both to the psychiatrist. I know a psychiatrist. And that's how, and my mother has a lot of willpower. She has incredible willpower, because, being, because I understand her position also. Even I feel helpless when sometimes uh, she's in that state where she has the awareness, she has the insight that, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, it's not true, but I'm feeling it so hard that I can't control my thoughts. And then
wow.
she starts crying. And in that zone, even I feel helpless, even after reading so much.
Yeah.
I've been in this space of working on mental health for almost a decade now, but I still feel helpless. I still
Mm,
in that daughter role, I feel helpless. many a times
Mm.
that, oh, what am I supposed to do now? I don't want to her to be in this space, but I don't know what to do.
Mm.
And yeah, so psychiatrists did, share a couple of insights that, okay, what are some of the things you can do at home, how to ensure that she feels safe, and even for you as a family member, as a caregiver, who is with her 24/7, what are some of the things you should do for yourself, go out, watch movie, spend time with friends, that is equally important. So those were the some of the things he kept on saying, and I really liked the way he approached my mother in the first time he, met her, as in the
Mm.
psychiatrist met my mother, made her feel so comfortable, listened to her, whatever she was saying, very calmly listened to her for like over an hour. And then that was when my mother instantly, made like connection with the psychiatrist. And till today, she visits him, she feels safer, and she's okay, meeting him.
Mm. Yeah. I'm just imagining a 13-year-old is a child herself.
Yeah, yeah,
So for you to grow up and care for a grown up and a parent who's actually supposed to care for you, I mean, parentified, that's what they say, that, became a parent to your parent very, very early. And what uh, I picked up something that, in during the episodes or during whatever happened, there would be a sense of shame for sure. What were some of the other emotional, uh, you know, things that were intense for you in those years? Um, do you mind telling us how old you are now or whereabouts you are?
yeah, yeah.
So we get
I
a sense of how long this has been.
Yeah, I am 31 now, and yeah, it's been a long, long journey. Journey
Wow.
definitely nobody, I think no caregiver wants to take up. But
Yeah.
here are we. Nobody chooses to be a caregiver, but yeah, here are we. And
Yeah.
I would, this also reminds me of a very nice quote by Rosalind Carter, who says that there are only four kinds of people in the world: those who have been caregivers, those who are currently caregivers, those who will be caregivers, and those who will need a caregiver.
That is true. It's one of
Yeah,
my favorite quotes.
yeah,
A lot of what we do at Caregiver Saathi is inspired by that.
right,
Mm.
right.
Yeah. Pragya, when my heart goes out to that little girl, and I think you're a little girl even now, in
Yeah.
many ways, uh, and who had to grow up so soon, and who needed to grow up, and
Yeah.
who felt responsible for her little brother and maybe her father as well. Would you like to tell us a little more about that journey? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure. I think I have always been grateful that I had a younger brother in that journey, because
Mm.
I think that my brother has also been one reason of me just sailing through. I wouldn't and I couldn't would have, I couldn't have done it alone. Um,
Mm.
I'm also grateful to my father, the way he has been through it all, like playing the role of a mother and a father both at times.
Mm.
Um, Even my mother, like while fighting, different
Yeah.
illnesses and mental illness, the way she has raised us, like both siblings, the
Yeah.
way the kind of sensitivity she holds. I'll give an
Mm.
example. So, it was back when I was in college and we were visiting, some temple in some other city. So, we took a halt and we were at this dhaba, And we saw this other family which came and then sat near to our table. And the child had was the child uh, I think he had he was a child with Down syndrome. So
Mm-hmm.
initially, when the family just entered, I just casually looked, and then I looked at the child, and I was just looking like that, right? But my mother instantly, very gently, she spoke to us, like me and my brother. She said that, don't look continuously. It doesn't look good.
Don't stare.
Don't
Yeah.
stare. And we were not staring, but the
Yeah.
insight, because she has been through that
Yeah.
multiple times. I think every single day she has been through that stare. She understands that stare. And she knows that the children are not looking from that lens, but still, what if the other person feels that way? So don't make them uncomfortable. Now, how many of us, to be very honest, are this
So mindful.
level of, yeah, um, we acknowledge or we are able to understand that how one should look, how one should, talk to
Yeah.
someone. And
Yeah.
it's not just about people who are going through hard times or mental illness or any other illness, but just us every day. Like, there, of course, there are days where we can be little rude to people or little unkind to people, but in general, at the end of the day, am I reflecting on my actions? Am I thinking out loud? What did I do today? How did I make the other person feel next to me? It could be your colleague, it could be your friend, it could be a stranger, it could be anyone. It
Mm.
could be a person, who comes, Didi or Bhaiya, who comes to cook at your home. How did you make them feel? So I think what this journey to me as a 13-year-old or as a 9, 10-year-old taught me is a lot around kindness, around compassion, around being, gentle towards others and not taking this for granted. Because I know how mean this world can be to you.
Mm. Yeah. While I definitely want to know more about the journey, I'm so anxious to know how's your mom doing now?
She's doing better than yesterday, is what I say. Yeah, she's still going through a relapse. Um, there are days when she's doing very well. There are days when um, it's it's the day when we remind ourselves that okay, this too shall pass. But yeah, I would still say she's doing better than yesterday.
Mm. That's it. That's the incredible thing about being such a long-term carer that you kind of navigate days on a day-to-day basis. And your dad, how is he doing?
He is also doing well, but I think
Mm.
a lot many times. Um, I always say this that, caregiving ka synonym is going through heavy periods of grief or going through heavy periods of you feeling guilty about, you know, not doing much, either not doing enough, or okay, how can I also ensure my own identity, as a, I don't know, as a friend, as a dancer, as someone who loves music, that continues, right? So my father loves cracking jokes. He loves humor. And I know how much he has changed himself, because he had to also, be this person who is always readily available for his partner, who has sort of, I would say, compromised or adjusted with many of his interests that he would have wanted to pursue. But of course, given the circumstances, he had to deny those opportunities. He had to hide his interests somewhere. So I think, yeah, all of us, my father, my brother, my mother, we all have, in different ways, um, negotiated with a lot of things to be able to where we are today. But having said that, as a family, we also learned a hard lesson that there is not going to be anyone who is going to support you in these tough times. It was always, always just four of us being there for each other. And we have seen it all. We have seen the toughest of the times together. And at the end of the day, we know that at least we are grateful to each other, that at least four of us were there for each other. And अभी कुछ भी आएगा लाइफ में, हमें हमें नहीं है किसी और की चिंता. My father got a lot of, I would say, so that way my mother is also very brave and very courageous and very progressive. So for her, me choosing my partner never came like a different this thing कि अरे नो बेटी को इतना पढ़ाया है लिखाया है इसको काबिल बनाया है तो of course she will have the right to choose a partner. Of course, I want her to have a voice. I want her to have the agency to be able to decide what she wants to do. क्या करियर लेना है, कहाँ पढ़ना है, किस फील्ड में काम करना है. Because she herself as a girl has gone through a lot of experiences where she was denied with such opportunities. My father, on the other hand, through these hardships, has also, and of course, the kind of partner he married, he also eventually, came that person. He has learned a lot in his journey, and he has been a father who never shied away, from protecting his children or from fighting with the world. My daughter, whatever she wants to do, she has the right to do whatever she wants to do. So this journey of caregiving also has sort of enabled us in many ways, has transformed us in many ways, for which we are grateful for. Of course, बहुत कम बारी अभी because I'm narrating all of this, so I'm reflecting, I'm going back to that journey, and I'm also thanking God, thanking the universe कि हाँ मतलब उसके साथ साथ आप ये भी सब मुझे सीखने को मिला. बट क्योंकि केयर गिविंग का लोड इतना ज्यादा हैवी है कि हम उतना शायद ग्रेटफुल फील नहीं कर पाते कि उसके साथ साथ हमने और क्या क्या सीखा.
So, what have been the gifts of caregiving?
Like I've been saying, it's just gratitude uh, towards this whole journey because it taught me how valuable kindness is,
Yeah.
how valuable it is. And like
Yeah.
I said earlier also, okay, matlab, it is such a simple thing, to be kind, but sadly such a rare thing to find.
Mm. Um, as a young woman who grew up with this uh, in an atypical environment, let's just say that, and you said in the beginning कि हमारे घर, my life, my parents were different from others, and I learned that fairly young. As you saw this, um, what did you observe about your dad? What did your, like through the lens of a young girl, what have you seen? I definitely want to know a little more about probably the choices and the sacrifices that your dad made and you saw.
I I think the first thing that pops up while going back and looking at his journey is um, him denying many opportunities to, maybe shift out of the city and move to another city
Mm.
to get promotions and to get a better salary. So he has compromised with all of that. He has taken a decision because of course being a full-time carer you have to be present with your partner, and to be with your partner you have to live in the same city, right? So he has compromised on that. And um, there have been multiple times when there were family functions which were again in other city, and because of the family dynamics, we had to sort of negotiate with, not being able to attend all sort of family functions. And as much as he wanted to attend those, understanding the family circumstances, uh, he had to let go of attending those events. So And thirdly, I think not it's not just for my father or my brother or me or my mother, but in general for us as caregivers, we negotiate with what we aspire to do or what we want to do versus what the situation demands every single day. So, and the heaviness of what the situation demands is much, I would say, heavier than what we aspire to do. And that fight, within ourselves happens every single day. So just to have that one person, जहाँ पे आपको वो सुकून मिलता है कि बात करके कि हाँ चलो, this person understands my journey and the kind of hardships that I'm going through. I think just to have that one person in life is very very important, जिससे आपको
Mm.
बात करके ही सुकून मिल जाए कि चलो, क्योंकि लाइक इनिशियली व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड दिस सेशन, you mentioned that how everybody talks about people for whom we are caregiving, but nobody talks
Mm.
about the caregivers. So we are that way an army of invisible people, right? Nobody comes and asks us कि तुम कैसे हो, how are you doing, how are you coping up with all of this. Nobody comes and asks those questions. In fact, लोग क्या बोल के जाते हैं, and this uh, used to irritate me a lot as a child, that ओ कितनी समझदार हो तुम, इतनी बच्ची हो और तो भी तुम कितनी मेच्योर हो गई हो, बहुत अच्छे से तुम मैनेज कर रही हो. अरे मुझे नहीं करना है मैनेज. आई वॉन्ट टू बी अ चाइल्ड. आई डोंट वॉन्ट टू मैनेज ऑल दिस. As adults, as I would say extended family members, you were not able to take up certain responsibilities, you were not able to do certain things. तो आप एक बच्चे पे थोप रहे हो वो चीजें, which nobody asked me कि मेरे को करना है क्या, मुझे नहीं करना. Why would a child want to do that? The child would like to go out on the field and play, or do nothing, but definitely
Yeah.
not this. So never telling the caregiver, or
Yeah.
especially children who have become caregivers, that oh, you are doing such an
Mm.
amazing job, you're so mature, तुम बहुत जल्दी बड़े हो गए और mature हो गए. No, it's not because of them wanting to be that, right? It's the
Yeah,
situation that made them become so.
that is true. Yeah. You mentioned briefly, and would you like to talk a little more about that? Um, the kind of support that you got. I mean, clearly there was this one friend who guided you to a psychiatrist, which was a great
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
Um, um, were there any other people who you felt were there to support your mom or you or your dad?
So yeah, I have been very lucky to have found some of the most beautiful friends in my life,
Mm.
who may not be able to understand the situation fully, but
Mm.
they made sure that I feel heard, and they made sure that their presence is non-judgmental, and they themselves are also wanting to learn what is happening and how can we contribute for you to feel better. And that is
Wow.
something, yeah, and that is something I would say I'm again deeply, deeply grateful to them. And one of the best friends is whom I'm married to today, proudly, his wife. And while we decided that, okay, we will get married, this was also one of the questions I asked, because
Mm.
whenever I used to think about marriage, the first fear that came very, very strongly and deeply was around whether the guy and his family would be able to understand, our family situation. And because I would never want someone to disrespect my mother. Nobody
Yeah.
wants anyone to come and disrespect, their family. So with
Yeah.
him, I knew that that is not going to happen, but still I wanted to have that discussion. So I asked him
Yeah.
that, okay, one day if you see, something happening in the family and it looks weird to you or makes you feel uncomfortable, please don't react in a way that looks disrespectful or disappointing. To which he replied that, of course I won't, and you know me that I won't. But I don't know what that situation would look like. If that situation is also very triggering for me, and of course I'm not going to do anything which is disrespectful towards anyone. But let's say I did something.
Mm.
Please ensure that, try to understand my situation and just be mindful about why I did what I did. And that thing, that narrative changed my whole perspective. That, of course, why am I putting this onus on someone who has not been on this journey? I have been on that journey, and the way I see it, the way I understand it, of course, the person who has not been on it is not going to understand. So that just made me feel so much better. That, yeah,
Yeah.
this is all I want, just him to be mindful, and that he already is. And that also gave me a lot of confidence.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, this is also a big deal because any kind of illness, any kind of responsibility on children, very often the first thing to be sacrificed is the woman's choice for marriage and
Yeah,
her
yeah,
life.
yeah,
And then if there is a mental illness, God forsake, then there is all kinds of assumptions that what does that mean, and you know.
yeah,
We
yeah,
we do have certain ways of thinking that can be very
yeah, yeah,
challenging.
yeah, yeah, true.
Yeah. Um, Pragya, as you look back and you've kind of shared your story and you've spoken about a few things, um, Caregiver Saathi is about supporting caregivers, right? It's about a support system for family caregivers. One of the elements of that is knowing that you're not alone and that somebody listens to your story and they would know.
Right.
But if today as well, and maybe when you were younger, so, it's different to be an adult caregiver and it's different to be a child caregiver.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Let's let's uh let's blue sky think, brainstorm. What would be a good supportive system for a young caregiver and for a caregiver of someone who is navigating mental illness, from your point of view?
So as a child, one thing that I have always, always longed for is to have a support system, at place. For example, if I have a parent with stage 4 cancer, I know
Mm.
that if, again, uh, this could sound like a very privileged thing to say, but maybe making an arrangement of a nurse, of a a caring staff to come at home to take care of the person, right? Versus for mental health, I've never seen that, especially in
Mm.
tier 3, tier 4 cities, in towns, in villages. I have not seen that, right? So just
Yeah.
having that support system, uh,
Even
uh,
for a week,
yeah, yes, yes. So
not necessarily full time, but even for a break.
yes, yes. So that
Yeah.
support system to come and take care of, your family member or person who needs care, right? So, and not just physical care, but emotional care, who
Mm.
understands the nitty-gritties of mental illness, who understands, what this person needs in the situation, who engages them in different, modalities like art के साथ कुछ किया, craft में कुछ किया, या कुछ uh, game, dance, I don't know, or just taking them out for a walk. Because of course we all understand how just, taking like the step to move out of the house and going for a walk also seems like a big thing to do, right? So it also is so helpful. And as a child, for me to then understand कि मुझे क्या करना है, तो मैं वो सीख सीख वो देख के मैं सीख गई. मुझे किसी ने सिखाया तो नहीं. तो मैं वो शायद वो देख के मैं सीख जाती कि अच्छा ये सब चीजें करनी होती है. So I think that is one big I um, need and a big gap that I see in this, industry
Yeah.
or
Which
in this
city were
whole.
you based in, Pragya?
Currently, I'm based in Mumbai.
But
Uh,
when you were a child, where were you
so that
based?
time I was living in a town in Rajasthan.
Mm.
Yeah, and
Mm.
we still don't have such a facility available there. However, again, because of my own journey as a carer, I'm also deeply passionate about maybe taking some initiative around it, and hopefully soon I will be able to do something around it.
Yeah, for sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
But as an adult caregiver, I would also say that, maybe, the policies around allowing us to work remotely or work from home, right? So certain policies like this, or, if I'm having that window where I'm able to having that window as well as having the systems in the workplace where I'm able to confidently share that, okay, this is what my personal situation or family situation looks like, and there will be days when I have to maybe I just have to randomly just run and rush, home, and I have to deal with things. So there will be such days, and I'm openly, respected about that. I'm my choices are taken care of. That's this whole situation is taken care of. There is no such pressure where, the workplace makes me feel less seen, or, I have to constantly prove them that I'm worthy of this job. However, of course, I have to manage these other things because I am one person, and I, as one person, play multiple roles. We all play multiple roles. We all have multiple identities. So I think workplaces need to be more flexible with such arrangements, which sadly they are not. Luckily, one of the organizations that I have worked with, the CEO, the founder, have been very, very supportive in this whole process. And there were days when they used to see that, oh, I'm looking very dull, very low. And they used to just come and check in on me. How are you doing today? Is there anything you want to talk about? Just these two, three, questions. And it used to make me feel so, uh, better, so nice. Yeah.
Cared for.
So cared for. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Caregivers also need care, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can't pour from an empty cup, very cliche line, but very true. Stands true all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. So, what are your wishes for all the caregivers who are out there?
Um,
Maybe young caregivers. Well, you're a young caregiver even now. So, like little caregivers and young caregivers and older caregivers. What is your wish for them?
I think one wish which I keep forgetting and I keep reminding myself is to remember many other identities that I hold, that
Mm-hmm.
who Pragya stands for. I'm sure Pragya just doesn't stand for, a carer, but there are many
That's
other roles that Pragya plays, right? So remembering
so
that.
tell us, what are the other roles you play?
I love dancing. I enjoy dancing, and especially, when either when I'm very happy, I dance, or I'm very, very sad and I just want to fight it out, then I dance. Um, and I love coloring. I love binge watching. I love writing poems. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
and which language do you write your poems in?
English and Hindi both.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Will you be able to recite something for us that you may have written?
Um, I don't know whether I can recite it right now on this portal, but maybe I
Oh,
can I can maybe separately text you. But yeah, there's
oh,
something I do want to share, to all the caregivers, and this is not my line, so just to say that, but it's a beautiful, beautiful line. To love a person is to see all of their magic and to remind them of it when they have forgotten.
That was true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know why, but that reminded me also of something that you said. I think you were talking about yourself and your dad, and you said that being a carer for a very long time leaves you with a sense of grief and guilt.
Yeah.
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 I'd
Yeah.
like to double click on that and say, tell us a little more about what is that kind of grief and what is that guilt you spoke about?
So before I talk about grief, I would talk about guilt. I think, like I was mentioning that time, that a lot of times, no matter how hard we try, no matter how hard we ensure that everything stays, if not like better, but at least everything stays the way it is. It stays okay and manageable. Of course, there are days and there are times, and there are sometimes that the frequency of time is too much within the day, right? So the
Mm,
day seems like it's not getting over. It almost feels like a year. So many a times we feel as caregivers that am I doing enough? Or if we choose our own happiness, or if we choose to go out, maybe take some time out just to walk around or meet friends or spend time with friends or do something that we like to do, right? Or choose a career where you have to make a choice of moving out of your home and live somewhere else, right? So with all these choices where we sort of keep ourselves above the situation, or the identity of caregiving, the identity of
mm,
a caregiver, that's when the guilt creeps in, and it sort of makes one feel that, oh, how can I choose myself, or how can, am I doing enough, or am I being selfish? So I think every day we just need to remind ourselves that it's okay to be selfish, and there's no harm in being selfish. And of course, as this is what I am, not just a caregiver, I'm also many other things. And if I don't care for myself, how will I care for, my um, family member, or my partner, or my friend, or whosoever, you are playing the role of caregiver for. So
mm,
that is, yeah. And grief is, I think, that that feeling of, you know uh, loss, or I don't know how to describe it, but when you see someone you deeply deeply love, someone you deeply
mm,
deeply respect, right, you look up to, um, is going through a very tough time, is going through a lot of negative patches in life, and is going through that journey where there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And you also get a sense of, losing that person. So that remains with you, and it is very, very hard to sort of process, especially when you see them helpless, especially when you know that this is something really bad happening and you don't know what to do about it. But if it's something is losing, so that stays with you.
mm. Why did you choose to write poetry?
To express what I have been hiding. It initially started as a way to express what I don't express uh, uh, in front of anyone. So, in fact, when I started writing, I used to write on the pages which were already filled, and I used to scribble. I used to scribble my poems in a way that nobody can decode them ever. So still today, I have some of those copies back at home, and only I can read those and understand what I've written. So it was just, pain flushing out of the body, and, things that I'm storing, I can just write it down and then um, let it out.
Mm. What do you wish for caregivers to have through Caregiver Saathi?
I
What
think
do you
it,
think about caregivers? Let's take a step back. What do you think about Caregiver Saathi?
I think it's a beautiful, beautiful space that you have created and your team has created, Bhavna, where um, we feel that there's a whole community out there and we are not alone in this journey. And there are so many of us. And, we shall just come together and uh, I don't know whether you are planning to do that, but maybe just having this one whole on I don't know whether it's an online workshop or an offline workshop where we all come together and just hug each other and make each of us feel that, oh, yeah, we all are there in this journey.
Mm.
Maybe we are doing this journey and taking this journey in different places in different ways, but the feeling of being a caregiver is common across all of us, and we are together in this and we are there for each other. And like I am there to share some of the strategies I have learned with you. You share some of the strategies that you do. Maybe, that's how we just create a place where we learn from each other.
Yeah. What do you think we should do? What else should we do?
Maybe, I don't know, holding a space. I am all in on
Physical
and
space.
offline. Yeah, exactly. Physical space where uh,
Yeah.
whosoever can should come and we all just meet, and it's a nice retreat kind of thing that we do, and we learn from each other's journey, and we hold this
Yeah.
space where we feel so comfortable and so belonged and so seen and so heard.
Yeah. Inshallah, one of these days soon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, what has been your association so far? How did you get to know about Caregiver Saathi and what has been your association? What are some of the things that you have
So
known?
I remember that I invited you. I contacted you for one of the live sessions that I did with my previous organization, and I was researching about, someone who is leading some work on caregiving, and I that's how I found you a couple of years back. And since then, I've been following your work on LinkedIn, on other social media platforms, and um, I also deeply, deeply, connect to your cause of Caregiver Saathi is because this is also um, I don't know, I whether to call it as a dream or something that I really, really look up to taking up as one of my projects is to work for caregivers, because as much as there's a whole lot of army out there of carers, there's so little work that is done for carers. So
Mm.
if us as carers, I think we only can start that work and we only can make these spaces for carers like us, where we are,
Join us. Join
yeah.
us.
Sure. I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful because, this is emotional labor, right? Being able to go through your own story and being able to tell for the benefit of not just your own healing, but for the benefit of so many others who may listen and be inspired and may not feel alone at the minimum and
Yeah.
say, oh, there's there's someone else who is navigating this and it's okay. And I
Yeah.
will get through this. And that's really the purpose of these conversations. And I'm very, very grateful that your story
Same.
is a part of our conversations.
Yeah.
And would you like to take a look back at the conversation that we just had and what it has meant for you?
Um, yeah, I think I got an opportunity to go back and reflect on what
Mm.
were some of the experience that I have been through, and especially what are like my journey as a caregiver, and also some of the
Mm.
experience that have shaped me into who I am today, into who I
Mm.
stand for today. So a lot of values are now driven by what I have experienced, and that's why I also understand and value kindness a lot.
For sure.
Yeah.
How's your brother doing?
He's doing well. He's studying right now. He's also, yeah,
And
managing.
how much younger is he to you?
He's 4 years younger to me.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, as an elder sister to a brother who's just 2 years younger than me, I still feel like a mother. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I can imagine that. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to express my deep gratitude to you, Pragya, and thank you for investing this time and your flexibility for organizing this conversation. We've been going back and forth on that for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you for that. And I really hope that you will continue to be a part of the community and contribute and share your thoughts as much as hold other people's hand as you feel held yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it is, like you said, a very, very big project. And for sure, we can't achieve it
Yeah.
without so many of you.
Agreed. Agreed.
The
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure, talking about the whole ecosystem of caregiving and how it shapes each of us and how each of our journey may look different, but at the end of the day, we are all sailing in the same boat and somehow not just surviving, but thriving.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Look at you repeatedly saying that caregiving gave you gifts, and like,
yeah,
isn't
yeah,
it obvious?
yeah,
You said
agreed.
to me.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah,
saying it so many times. So thank you. Thank you for that. For
yeah,
sure, I think caregiving is a path to our spiritual growth, and it is a path to us finding ourselves in so many ways and discovering humanity. So, I feel enriched each time a caregiver tells me their journey,
yeah.
and I feel that today, and I'm very, very grateful, Pragya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Bhavna.
Thank you for watching this episode of Conversations with Gentle Warriors. Caregiving may be unseen, but it is a powerful force holding lives together. If you're a caregiver, a carer, or someone who may not have thought of themselves as a caregiver, but you are worried and concerned about someone's well being, know that you are not alone. And if you're listening as an ally, think about how you can help make caregiving more visible, valued, and supported. Let's keep celebrating the unseen strength of gentle warriors who are all around us and yet are the invisible backbone. Do like, subscribe, and share with people who might be able to relate, who might be able to find inspiration and find connection, because care is all around us and caregivers are all around us.